Hello. Hi, I'm here with the Marketing Collective's resident social smarty, Jodine McIntyre. Jodine
Hello.
is, hey, how are you?
Good. Looking forward
Good.
to this chat.
All things social media, my favorite channel.
Love to hate it, right?
Love to hate it, absolutely. So, for those of you that don't know Jodine is our social media trainer. She's our wing woman, our cheerleader here at the Marketing Collective. She helps entrepreneurs and their teams build confidence in social channels to grow their businesses. So, yes, that love hate relationship, Jodine, I'm going to be honest. I have had a love hate relationship with social media since I discovered Facebook way back in 2007.
Yeah, it's been a
If
while.
it wasn't such a valuable channel for small businesses, I wouldn't be on here personally. And I know that there's a lot of people out there, my clients included, who feel the same.
Yeah.
But I heard something yesterday on a podcast by Zania Guy that changed my view of social media. So today I'm going to surprise you. I'm not going to be hating on social media. Because in it, her guest, Brooke Howard Smith, said, and I quote, purposeful content drives communities, and those communities that grow through that content can drive change.
Yeah, I love that.
I love it, right? I've had to slap myself because I've been looking at social media so negatively. I've been looking at it, as having to do reels because that's what the algorithm needs, accounts growing because they're singing and dancing and pointing and, and being so against that because it's just not me, or, needing to feel like you need to share every thought that comes into your head to get in front of people 20 times a day. There's, in my opinion, almost an oversharing that happens sometimes in social platforms, and maybe I'm showing my age with that. But ultimately, it's about connection, and I've been looking at communities as support networks. That whole kind of, that girl boss vibe in the small business space that I absolutely don't vibe with. When actually it doesn't have to be any of that. It's an opportunity for people to grow and an opportunity for your brand and your voice to make a real difference in driving change. And that's what inspires me. That's why I created the Marketing Collective in the first place, was about, brands having a purpose and driving change, serving those ethical and sustainable entrepreneurs. So I'm not going to keep waffling on because you're the expert. And this might be really obvious for a lot of people already, but it has been a mindset shift for me in the last 24 hours. It isn't a popularity contest. It isn't about having to do stuff you normally wouldn't do in real life. It's about really tapping into what will make a difference for your community and doing that in a way that feels good to you, right?
Yeah, I love that. And I think if we think back to pre-social media, to reach thousands of people, you had to have a big marketing budget. You had to be able to afford to advertise in print media or maybe television. And it was just such a barrier for a lot of businesses. So if we put a bit of a positive spin on it, it has really sort of democratized that ability to reach a huge audience. But I think if we come back to the whole essence of marketing and how marketing either attracts or repels, good marketing anyway will either attract or repel. We're not trying to please everyone in the world. We're trying to appeal to a certain subset of an audience of people that really align with our business. And so I love that sort of idea of that building a community. And it doesn't have to be a massive community. I was talking this morning with some other business owners during another session, and some of the businesses out there that have the biggest following don't actually have a really solid business. If you break down that
Absolutely.
facade, but you can have you can have an audience that absolutely aligns with exactly what you're doing. They're your diehard fans that will be the biggest brand advocates for you. They'll be out there singing your praises, and there might only be a handful of them. So I think that social media can be really powerful if you remember that it's not just about pushing your message out to people. It's about building communities and bringing people together around, what it is that your business, the values that it aligns with.
Yeah.
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 Cool.
Totally agree. And that's exactly why we have you in the Marketing Collective
Yeah.
to share your experiences, your clients' experiences, your expertise in social media, because you've obviously known all along, and it's what you teach.
It
So,
is.
like I said earlier, what's changed my mindset really is that opportunity to inspire change we so desperately need in business and in marketing. And overnight, my content strategy is changing.
Cool.
But if others are feeling the same way that I was, and they're not as inspired by that purpose piece, how do you recommend they kind of reinvigorate their social media presence, especially if they're having moments of doubt or they're not feeling, the love for these platforms?
Yeah. So I guess the first recommendation would be, and this might be a bit controversial, but just ditch the platforms that you're not feeling. You don't have to be on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and YouTube. You don't have to be on all the places. Honestly, I give you permission to just dip out of, LinkedIn. If you're scrolling LinkedIn and you're feeling those horrible feelings, your mental health and your well-being is far more important than showing up in a place that you're just not vibing with. And I find it a little bit not really cyclical, but I'll find that I'll have periods where I'm feeling, particular love for one platform, and then that might shift later on to another platform. I think, honestly, you do not have to be everywhere all the time. And you could even pop a post, and I've had clients that have done this and people that I know who have popped a post up on their Instagram, pinned it to the top and said, hey, I don't really hang out on Instagram. I'm more active on LinkedIn. Come on over, here's my LinkedIn profile. And that's pinned to the top, so anyone who visits your profile sees, oh, cool, okay, that's why there's not any recent content on here. So absolutely, spend time where you feel inspired and not where you feel like it's a real drag.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to connect with those people,
No.
right? You're not going to connect with your audiences if you're really hating it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then the other side of that is have a bit of fun with it. So if you take it back to what Marika's saying around building a community, and you think about what is really important to the people who follow your business. What does your target audience believe in? What do they value? And then take that sort of essence and have a bit of fun with the content. You don't have to create reels because you know that reels are probably going to get you greater reach than any other type of content. If you're not into reels, just don't create them. Have a little bit of fun. And something that I've done recently is created a new content series for myself. I call it the Wednesday Waffle. And every Wednesday, I just stream of consciousness, waffle on about everything that I'm thinking about in the world of social media. And now I'm reinvigorated. I feel excited for Wednesdays. I've got this new series of content that I can really sink my teeth into. So mix it up, have some fun, and you might find that, something really does spark some inspiration.
It is social after all, right? So
Yeah,
we should be
totally.
social. Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually do an exercise when I run workshops, and I get everyone in the room to close their eyes and picture the biggest room they can imagine, like a massive room that just stretches on and on for miles. Once I've pictured that room, I get them to imagine it full of people. And in those people, in that big crowd of people, there's little conversations. You imagine little circles of conversations that are happening about different things, and people are getting really passionate about things, and people are coming together because they all believe in the same thing or they value the same things. And that's all that social media is. It's just a big online meeting place for people to come together and have conversations. And you want to be joining those conversations and sparking those conversations. So literally, that's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that visual actually.
Yeah, it's cool,
Makes
eh?
it more real. Makes it more real, right? And
Yeah.
and and at times when this virtual world doesn't always feel very transparent and honest and real.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look at what's going on with the royal family this
I
week,
know.
and it's just wild. Yeah.
So I get asked this one all the time, and we're all guilty of looking for shortcuts, right?
Yes.
But are there ways to show up without actually having to show up? Are there shortcuts to still be authentic in your approach, but maybe avoid having to spend hours and hours on social media platforms?
Yeah, I mean, the first one that gets often, shared from people like myself in social media is obviously scheduling your content in advance. So, particularly as women, we sort of have a bit of a cycle, and we have periods where we feel a little bit more inspired and a bit more creative, and then we have other periods where we don't. So, spending that time creating your content when you're in the right headspace, and then batching it. So we create a whole lot of social media content at once, and then we schedule it into either, the native app. So all of the apps now have the ability for you to schedule content in advance, or you can use a third-party tool. And actually in Mastering Marketing, I teach a particular tool that you could use that will help you share that content. But yeah, that would be the big one, is use those periods where you're in the mood for it. Get in there, batch a whole lot of content in advance, schedule it to go out. And the other thing that is really useful is having some evergreen content. So what I mean by that is the type of content that doesn't age. So it's not talking about the live that I'm going to be doing with Marika today, because that'll go, that'll age. But it might be talking about your core messaging. It might be about, services or products, key products that you have. There can be some core messaging that will make sense if you talk about it in, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and then having that bank of content there waiting for you. So the tool that I recommend in Mastering Marketing has that ability for you to create that sort of bank of content that sits there, and then you can just schedule it to go out. You can also repurpose content. Something you posted 3 months ago, I guarantee you no one is going to remember. So go back through your socials and just think, okay, right, is there some content there that I could reuse, maybe give it a tweak? And then again, you can be showing up consistently with putting very little effort in, really.
Yeah, really good tips.
Yeah.
Really good tips. That repurposing piece is huge, right? It's how do you organize
Yeah.
that content? How do you, just get more bang for your buck, and all of the time that you spend creating this stuff? How can you amplify it, make it go further? And I
And I was
Go
going to say,
ahead.
it's not just that, but marketing is all about repetition. So the
Yeah,
more you say something, the more likely it is to stick or even be seen by your audience, because
yeah,
not everyone sees every one of your posts.
yeah,
It's like a TV commercial. You wouldn't create a TV commercial and play it on one channel once and think your job is done. You want that repetition. You want to get that TV commercial or radio jingle, whatever it is, played over and over and over again so that it sticks in people's minds.
yeah. I think the magic number when I was studying marketing, and that is quite some time ago now, so it may have changed now with all the different channels, but at least 7 times, right? Somebody needs to see a message
Yeah.
at least 7 times to take action on it. So
And I think,
get used to feeling sick of hearing your own voice.
yeah, totally. And I think that number, like if we're realistic in today's world, with all the advertising
A
we're
lot
subject
higher,
to, it's
a
probably
lot
a lot
higher.
higher, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
to cut through. Absolutely. Absolutely. Gosh, this time just flies. Um, any final motivational tips on how you can maintain inspiration? And social is about consistency. So how do you
Yeah.
maintain that over the long term?
I think one thing I would say is be realistic. Showing up
Mm,
every single day on social media is just not realistic, particularly if you're wearing all of the hats in your business and you're working both in and on your business. It's just not going to happen. So even if you set your benchmark at one post a week, I wouldn't recommend any less than that, but ideally we want a minimum post a week, then you can build from that. So be really
yeah.
realistic with those goals. look at how you can get some structure into your social media. So in Mastering Marketing in the program, I teach you a framework that you can use, a really simple framework that you can use in your social media, which means you're not sitting there staring at a screen going, oh, what am I going to post about today? And I think remembering that community element as well. So sometimes, and I don't recommend this all the time, but sometimes even taking a bit of time to consume some content where your target audience are hanging out, spending some time in Facebook groups or even scrolling through some others' content can give you a little bit of a motivation. It can work the other way too, though. You can fall into the trap of comparing yourself to others and thinking, oh gosh, they're showing up more frequently than me, or it can work the other way. But I particularly love Facebook groups where I know, like for me, it's like the Small Business Owners New Zealand Facebook group, Side Hustles New Zealand. Like there's a lot of Facebook groups where there's some really cool conversations that are happening. And what I do is I look to the questions that are being asked and I think, oh, wow, I have got the answer to that. And that can start to help me shape up some content that I know people are dying to, to consume.
Yeah. Exactly. I get most of my inspiration from the things that come up in my one-on-one coaching, right? What are people struggling with? And it's remarkable that, interestingly, we meet every 2 weeks and there's a common theme every 2 weeks. Doesn't matter what business, what industry, who the entrepreneur is, there are absolutely common themes that come out regularly. So just using the real world to generate those ideas. This has been such a good chat. Thanks, Jodine. Really practical tips. And I know that there's so many more, and those frameworks that you talked about in Mastering Marketing. So Jodine mentioned Mastering Marketing. That's our marketing program that combines the expertise of all 5 Marketing Collective specialists. Jodine goes into paid social media and organic social media. 2 of the modules in that program are presented and trained by Jodine. So go and take a look at that if you need help with social, but also if you need help with the Google Suite, with content strategy, with channel strategy, with visual production, websites, all of the channels for small businesses, all of the main channels for small businesses are covered in there. But also, if you want more tips, Jodine is hosting this month's Marketing Masterclass. It's next week, Tuesday, 19th of March at 11 a.m. New Zealand time, and available on replay if you're watching this after that date. And she will be sharing all of the social media hacks for time-poor business owners, i.e. all of you. Things like how to make sure that you're using, we talked about it right at the very beginning, the most effective social platforms for your business. Don't waste time and money on the ones that are not generating enough return on income. How do you DIY your content to make sure that you are repurposing it, that it's leveraged, and that it's lasting for a longer time? And finally, how to avoid getting sucked into that social media scrolling abyss. We've all been there.
Absolutely.
We will drop the link in the comments to sign up and hope to see you there. Thanks, Jodine. So looking forward to that chat next week too.
Yes, can't wait. Awesome. Thank you.
The masterclass. Take care, everyone.
See ya.